And I lived in different houses and rented houses, and I just had dreams, and I would write these goals down, and I didn't share them with people. I remember as a kid, I told people what I wanted to do, and then it was just somehow kind of too much for some
Tom
people.
Cruise is the last true movie star, a global icon of absolute control and perfection, who has meticulously managed his image for 40 years. But behind the billion-dollar smile lies the one mission: he couldn't control a family fractured in two, irrevocably divided by his unwavering and controversial faith. What is the true story of the two children who followed him deep into the world of Scientology, and the one daughter who was famously rescued from it? Welcome. You clicked on this video because you know the actor, but you sense that the real story, the human drama, is in the family he built and then broke. In this exhaustive deep dive documentary, we will tell the complete, intertwined, and ultimately divergent stories of his three children. We will explore the intensely private lives of his adopted children with Nicole, Kidman, Isabella, and Antony Cruise, who remain devout members of the Church of Scientology. And then we will uncover the full story of his biological daughter with Holmes, Suri Cruise, who has grown up completely estranged from her father and his religion. To bring you this story, we have gone far beyond the headlines. We have delved into court documents from his high-profile divorces, analyzed rare interviews with former Scientologists, and meticulously examined the timeline of his public and private life to construct a definitive portrait of the Cruise children. This isn't just a "where are they now?" It's a deep investigation into the profound and lasting impact of growing up at the epicenter of Hollywood's most powerful and most controversial belief system. Number 3. The Devout Disciple. The Enigmatic World of Isabella Cruise. The story of the Cruise children begins not with a birth, but with an adoption at the height of 90s superstardom. She was the first child of Hollywood's ultimate power couple, destined for a life of unimaginable privilege. But her journey would lead her not to the red carpet, but to a quiet, almost reclusive life of faith and art in London, allegedly a world away from the very mother who raised her. Born on December 22, 1992, Isabella Jane Cruise entered the world and was immediately adopted by Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman, who were then at the absolute peak of their fame and influence. Her arrival, along with her brother Connor's a few years later, completed the image of a perfect Hollywood family. Bella's childhood was a nomadic existence spent on sprawling estates and exclusive movie sets around the globe. She was raised within the protective, insulated, and increasingly Scientology-focused bubble that her father was creating. The turning point, the event that would define the rest of her life, came in 2001 with the shocking and sudden divorce of her parents. The split was acrimonious and played out under a harsh media spotlight. In the aftermath, both Bella, then 8, and her brother Connor made the pivotal decision to live with their father. This also meant choosing to remain within the Church of Scientology, the faith in which they had been raised. Nicole Kidman, who was not a Scientologist and was allegedly labeled a suppressive person, or SP, by the church, found herself on the outside of her children's lives. This decision shaped Bella's entire worldview. She continued her education within the Scientology system, reportedly taking courses at their centers in London and the US. Her life became increasingly intertwined with the church's teachings and community. As she grew into adulthood, she did not gravitate towards the Hollywood lifestyle. There were no acting ambitions, no celebrity romances. Instead, she found a passion for art and design. She studied at the Delamar Academy of Makeup and Hair in West London and began to build a life for herself based on her own creative talents. In 2015, she launched a clothing and art brand which she eventually named Bella Kidman Cruise, a fascinating and perhaps defiant choice to publicly reclaim the name of the mother with whom her relationship was so intensely speculated upon. Her art is eclectic and abstract, sold on prints and tote bags, giving the world a small glimpse into her inner life. It's a life that seems intentionally small, private, and normal. a stark contrast to the global superstardom of her parents. That same year, in 2015, Bella married Max Parker, an IT consultant, in a secret Scientology ceremony in London. The wedding became a major point of contention in the media. Reports claimed that Tom Cruise funded the ceremony, but did not attend, and Nicole Kidman was reportedly not invited at all, allegedly learning about it after the fact. This event seemed to solidify the public narrative of a deep and painful rift between mother and daughter. Bella's scandal is one of quiet, profound estrangement. The central question that has followed her for 2 decades is, what is her relationship with Nicole Kidman? In 2018, actress and former Scientologist Leah Remini claimed that Bella had told her she would disconnect from her mother because Nicole was an SP. While the church and the family deny such claims, the evidence of a fractured relationship is compelling. Nicole is rarely, if ever, photographed with her older children, though she often speaks of them with love in interviews, stating, "They have made choices to be Scientologists. It's our job as a parent to always offer unconditional love." Bella herself has only ever made rare, brief public statements. In a 2019 marketing email for the Church of Scientology, she wrote glowingly about her experience auditing a form of Scientology counseling, describing it as what I had been searching for. This was the most direct confirmation of her deep devotion to the faith. She lives a quiet life in Croydon, a suburb of London, with her husband refusing to engage with the media circus surrounding her family. Her story is one of a woman who, faced with an extraordinary choice, as a child has spent her entire adult life doubling down on that decision, choosing faith and privacy over the Hollywood world she was born into. Bella chose a life of artistic expression and quiet devotion in England. Her younger brother also adopted into this world of power and belief, would initially dip his toes into his father's world of acting and fame, only to ultimately retreat to a life of sun, sea, and unwavering loyalty at the very heart of the Scientology empire. Number 2. The Quiet Loyalist. The Florida Life of Connor Cruise. Next came the son the boy adopted into Hollywood royalty, who seemed poised to follow in his father's footsteps. He would try acting, he would try the DJ lifestyle, but his true journey would lead him away from the hills of Hollywood and to the humid shores of Clearwater, Florida, the spiritual mecca of Scientology, for a quiet life defined by fishing faith and fierce loyalty. Connor Antony Cruise, born on January 17, 1995, was adopted by Tom and Nicole shortly after his birth. Like his sister Bella, he grew up in the whirlwind of his parents' careers. He was often seen courtside at Lakers games with his father, a constant presence at Tom's side. After the divorce, he too chose to stay with his father and remain a dedicated Scientologist. As a teenager, Connor seemed to be the more likely of the two to embrace a public life. He was charismatic, outgoing, and showed a clear interest in the entertainment industry. He made his acting debut with a small but significant role as a young Will Smith in the 2008 drama 7 Pounds. It was a promising start. He followed this with a much larger role in the 2012 action film remake Red Dawn, alongside Chris Hemsworth and Josh Hutcherson. For a moment, it seemed like a legitimate acting career was taking shape, that he might become the heir to his father's action hero throne. However, his acting career never fully ignited. Instead, he pivoted, finding a passion for music. He became a celebrity DJ, traveling the world to play at exclusive clubs and high-profile events. This phase kept him in the public eye, but on his own terms, defined by his own skills rather than his father's fame. But then, in another pivot, Connor retreated from the entertainment world almost entirely. He moved to Clearwater, Florida, a city that is famously the spiritual headquarters of the Church of Scientology. He settled into a gated community for Scientologists and began to build a new life centered around his greatest passion, deep-sea fishing. Today, Connor Cruise is almost unrecognizable from the young actor and DJ. He is a rugged, bearded fisherman who runs his own charter business, Connor's Fishin' Shack. His social media is filled not with red carpet photos, but with pictures of him on his boat proudly displaying massive groupers and tuna. He also has a passion for grilling and barbecue, running a separate Instagram account dedicated to his culinary creations. He appears to have found a genuine sense of peace and purpose, far from the pressures of Hollywood. Like his sister Connor's scandal is the persistent and painful question of his relationship with his mother, Nicole Kidman. The narrative of estrangement has followed him for years. In 2014, there was a brief public rebuttal when he was quoted as saying his relationship with his mom was solid. But the lack of any public interaction between them for over a decade tells a different story. He, like Bella, is reportedly a high-ranking and dedicated member of the church. His choice to live in Clearwater places him at the very center of his father's faith. Connor's story is one of retreat and redefinition. He tried the Hollywood path, but ultimately chose a life of blue-collar authenticity, albeit one lived within the golden cage of a powerful and controversial church. He is the quiet loyalist, the son who remains steadfastly by his father's side, and within his father's world, finding his own version of freedom on the open water. The stories of Bella and Connor are of two children who chose their father's faith and world. But Tom Cruise's third child, his only biological daughter, would become the subject of a story that was the complete opposite. She was the most famous baby on the planet, born a princess of Scientology. But her life would become the narrative of one of Hollywood's most dramatic and successful escapes. Number 1. The Escapee. The astonishing story of Suri Cruise. And then came Suri, the biological daughter born into the blinding hysterical media frenzy of Tomcat. She was for a time the world's most famous child, a tiny fashion icon destined to be the crown princess of Scientology. But her story would become something else entirely, the tale of a mother's daring rescue and a daughter's life lived in deliberate, defiant opposition to the world she was born into. Suri Cruise was born on April 18, 2006, at the absolute peak of one of the most bizarre and intense periods of public celebrity the world has ever seen. The romance between Tom Cruise and the much younger Katie Holmes, dubbed Tomcat, was a global obsession. It was a romance defined by Tom's manic energy, famously demonstrated when he jumped on Oprah's couch declaring his love. Their relationship was meticulously managed, culminating in a lavish wedding at an Italian castle, an event that was essentially a global advertisement for Scientology. Suri was born into this whirlwind. Her birth was governed by Scientology principles, with reports of a silent birth as dictated by L. Ron Hubbard. Her first photos revealed on the cover of Vanity Fair became the second best-selling issue in the magazine's history. From that moment on, she was public property. She was a toddler, trailed by an army of paparazzi, her every outfit often designer documented and dissected. She was being raised as Scientology royalty, with reports that she was treated as a tiny adult, her every whim catered to. But behind the scenes, Katie Holmes was growing increasingly fearful of the church's influence over her daughter. As Suri approached the age of 6, a crucial age in Scientology where formal auditing can begin, Katie made a decision. In June 2012, in a move that shocked the world and reportedly completely blindsided her husband, she filed for divorce. What followed was not a drawn-out battle, but a swift surgical strike. Katie and her father, a lawyer, had meticulously planned the filing. She moved to New York, and within 2 weeks, they had settled. The terms were clear. Katie received sole custody of Suri. While Tom was granted generous visitation rights, the agreement reportedly contained strict stipulations regarding Suri's exposure to Scientology. It was, by all accounts, one of the most successful and dramatic escapes from the inner circle of a powerful celebrity and his church that Hollywood had ever seen. From that moment on, Suri's life was completely redefined. Katie raised her daughter in New York City and later in Los Angeles with a fierce determination to give her a normal childhood. Suri was enrolled in exclusive private schools, studied ballet, and was often seen on the streets of Manhattan with her mother hailing cabs, getting ice cream, and going to school plays. The designer dresses were replaced by normal teenage attire. The constant security detail was minimized. Katie had successfully extracted her from the celebrity bubble. The most profound and heartbreaking aspect of Suri's story is her complete and total estrangement from her father. Tom Cruise has not been seen publicly with his daughter since 2012. For over a decade, as she grew from a little girl into a young woman, her father has been physically absent from her life. Reports have consistently alleged that this estrangement is due to the Church of Scientology's policy of disconnection from those who leave the faith. Because Katie and Suri were no longer part of his world, he could not be part of theirs. Now, a legal adult Suri Cruise is a freshman in college reportedly studying fashion. She is a talented singer, having performed in her high school musicals. She is a young woman who has navigated an unimaginable childhood with grace and poise thanks to the unwavering protection of her mother. Her story is the ultimate untold story, because it is a life lived in reaction to a world we can only glimpse. She is the living embodiment of a different path, the daughter who got away. The three divergent, almost unbelievable paths of the Cruise children offer a powerful modern look at the impact of extreme fame and unshakable belief. But the archetype of the larger-than-life Hollywood father, with a complex and sprawling family legacy, is a story that truly defined the golden age of cinema. And no father was more of a larger-than-life symbol of American masculinity than the legendary, the Duke, John Wayne. Did you know that this icon of the American West was a father to 7 children from 3 different marriages, and that their lives ranged from becoming successful actors and artists in their own right, to quiet, painful battles with personal demons, all lived under the immense shadow of a cinematic legend. The full, sprawling, and fascinating story of John Wayne's 7 children is one you will not want to miss. Click the video on your screen right now to watch it next. And as always, thank you for watching.